what we got. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. We'll see if anyone joins online beyond Wayne, who looks like can't hear us right now, but maybe will eventually. Um, I know this is weird circumstances. Thank you to the three of you for being here, and thank you, Wayne, for joining online. We were going to have this meeting on December 14th, and just plans fell through. And now we're directly conflicting with a Santa Christmas Bazaar event. So we don't have a guest tonight because end of the year, I wanted to kind of recap all of the cool stuff that we've done this year. And especially since we have a brand new person just got to town, get to know you a little bit as well. Normally, we do a little bit of networking, get to meet everyone, and then we have someone join us via Zoom from an aspect of the industry. And we talk to them for an hour, hour and a half about what they do, how they got into it, any advice, funny stories from behind the scenes. If you've ever been on a film set, you've got at least one, right? And it's great because we try to change it up. So one week we might have a music composer, or one month we'll have a music composer. The next it'll be a director. Next month it might be a producer. Next month it might be an actor, and just kind of, get a different perspective of different sides of the industry every single month. So first of all, quick introductions. I'm Kurt Lidke. I'm the now interim executive director of Klamath Film, because our executive director Cassidy is stepping down this month. After 2 years at the helm. I previously was the director of Klamath Film from 2020 to 2021. And until this week, I was board chair of Klamath Film. I worked in Hollywood for about 12 years before I moved up here. I'm a filmmaker. My day job is videographer and photographer for Klamath Community College. And I'm also a professional drone pilot for both aerial and underwater. I'm probably the only person in Southern Oregon who owns a submarine. Uh, so that's me. Go ahead and pass mics around. And Larry, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Larry Veronelli. I just moved up from Los Angeles. I was down there for about 23 years, working in the industry as an actor, little producing and casting, mainly acting though.
Mm-hmm. Any productions that we might recognize you from, or okay.
Wow, very nice. Disturbia.
I remember, yeah, the Shia LaBeouf film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam ruins everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's General Hospital. And
I heard that.
Yeah, yeah. And I did a lot of independent movies when I first started in Sacramento. So I started up there, and then I moved down to LA. I was waiting for my kids to graduate high school once they went to college.
Once you're empty nest, then I can really pursue this thing.
So that's what I did. And just had a lot of fun down there. Worked with a lot of name actors, and that was fun, getting to know them.
Yeah.
Made some friends.
What's having been in the LA industry as well, what I find so interesting about it is people think that Hollywood is this massive entity that generates billions of dollars and drives all of pop culture and is just this overwhelming force. And yet it is such a small and incestuous industry. Everyone kind of knows everyone. Everyone's sort of, associated or affiliated, or you've worked with everyone in some capacity. It's really tiny, actually. It's a very kind of close-knit group. And once you're in, you're in. But getting that foot in the door is a hell of a thing. So
main thing is getting in with the casting directors.
yes. Yeah. They're the real gatekeepers. Yeah. Terrific. Well, thank you so much for being here. Can you tell us what brought you to Klamath Falls?
Well, my son lives in Grants Pass,
Okay.
which is about an hour and a half from that. I'm up by Lake of the Woods area.
Okay.
And my first grandson was born, so I figured I want to be close enough to have some fun with him.
Right.
While he's growing up.
Right. Plus, you give also your son a little bit of relief from time to time where he can escape.
So I'm building my own house up there. Me and my son are actually building it. So
that's fantastic.
I'm tired, but not from acting.
Okay.
working down there.
Well, we won't have as many productions come up as in Los Angeles, but you'd be surprised how many films are being made around here. We've been averaging the last couple of years, and of course the pandemic threw a wrench and all of that, but typically around 10 films or so are being shot here. Sometimes it's documentaries, some TV shows, some commercials, short films, occasionally feature films. So we already have 2 feature films slated for early next year, and possibly a third that I was talking to earlier today, actually. So as things come up, we'll definitely keep you in the loop for that.
Big pleasure.
Yeah.
Work on any of those projects.
Terrific. And then Bowen.
Welcome, welcome, Larry. Very nice to have you here. My name is Bowen Browder. I am also an actor, but I am more locally based. I am born and raised here in Klamath Falls, so I've lived my whole life. I am a Klamath native, and I'm, I would say, definitely more on the beginning end of my acting career. So I started a couple of years ago and have just been trickling up in the volume of the projects that I've been working on over the last couple of years. Some small student films, some small indie productions, and just steadily working my way up and just really diving in as much as I can just in the area, because like Kurt said, there's probably not as much as Hollywood, but you'd be surprised by the number of projects that get worked on in the Klamath Basin and just Southern Oregon in general, and just how interesting some of the projects are, in my opinion, as well. So I like to get my feet wet in whatever way I can in that regard, and just going along. But during my day job, I also work at one of the universities here in Klamath Falls as a residence life coordinator. So I help students, with, homemaking, but the home is a 700 plus capacity, multi-story housing complex. But yeah, happy to have you on board.
Thank you.
And there's nothing I can do about the music, so our meeting will be a little bit more holly jolly than normal. Just bear with
Honestly, I really don't mind.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. I know pretty much everybody here except for you, so I will direct my introduction towards you.
All right.
I'm Logan. I also just moved here. I'm from Tennessee. I grew up near Nashville, and then about 3 years ago, my wife got into law school in Memphis. We moved to Memphis, and from there, I was working as a product photographer for TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And now she's graduated, and we've moved out here because she's a clerk for the judges, and I have been coming to these meetings, trying to network and stuff. So
Yeah. And you should mention your work with TJ Maxx too.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that. I got caught up in Santa coming down the chimney or something. Yeah. And then Wayne, I'm not sure if you can hear us or not. Is your audio issue fixed? If not, Wayne is also a local actor. He's appeared in many short films and feature films all throughout Southern Oregon. He likes to say he got into acting on a dare and just fell in love with it, and now acts as often as he possibly can. And he's been a longtime board member with us off and on. So for your benefit, I know that we talked on the phone. And first of all, I will say normally we don't have Christmas music playing during our meetings. And normally we may have anywhere around like maybe 10 people in person and another maybe 10 on Zoom. It kind of varies month to month in terms of our turnout, but normally we have a much bigger crowd than tonight, but it's understandable because of the timing and everything else that's going on. So right now it's just Wayne. We'll see if anyone else joins on board. So
Section is that we have like the main camera for all of us sitting here, and then anyone who joins online, they'll populate.
Yeah, you'll be able to see them on the TV if anyone else joins in. But Wayne chimed in earlier. Oh, he did say that he can hear us at least. So hopefully you're enjoying the Christmas music too, Wayne, if you can hear us, because we can't turn it off. It's stuck playing all night. So for yourself, sir, Klamath Film has been around for about 13 years now. We are a 501c3 nonprofit based here in Klamath Falls, but we are the film liaison office for the entire county. So anytime there's any kind of production happening here, documentary, TV show, commercial, short film, feature film, we are doing everything we can to make that as smooth as possible. We're helping out with cast and crew calls for locals and extras. We help out with equipment, with helping with location scouting and permits and connections with property owners if they need certain site locations, to try to make it as easy and so they can focus on the creative side, and we handle all of the legwork up front. And so some productions need more hands-on help than others, kind of depending on who they are and what they're doing. It's all case by case. But that also gives us a chance to make sure that anyone who is connected with our organization is right in the loop in terms of if there are work opportunities in the local area. And we've had some productions come through from time to time, bigger ones where essentially it's all hands on deck. I remember in 2018, Wayne was a part of this film. We had a film here shoot called Phoenix, Oregon, and it starred Jesse Borrego and James LeGros, Diedrich Bader. A lot of Lisa Edelstein was in it. A lot of actors where they may not be A-listers, but as soon as you see him, you know the face. It's like, oh, it's that guy who's been in that thing and 1,000 other things, right? The character actors, right? So that film was all hands on deck. Like every Klamath Film member was an extra or a PA or did something, stand in the background, hold these wires, go grab, everyone worked on that film in some capacity. Wayne was an extra for it. Wayne says he's humming to the music. Okay, and enjoy that, Wayne. It's driving me nuts. We actually have a historic marker downtown on Main Street in front of the Daily Bagel because that film, filmed in 2018. They took it on the road in 2019 to find a distribution deal for it. They signed a distribution deal for it to be released to theaters nationally March of 2020, the weekend that every theater in the country was shut down. Odds of that are astronomical, right? But they released it online as well as a simultaneous thing behind a paywall. And they ended up being the only film in the country that did that. Therefore, they were the only film in the country that registered box office numbers. And so, #1 movie in America. Through a complete and total fluke, this little independent film ended up being the #1 movie, also the lowest grossing #1 movie in history, but still the #1 movie in America. So we have a historic marker downtown that's part of what's called the Oregon Film Trail. And the state of Oregon is the only state that actively promotes tourism of film locations in the country. And so there's about 35 of these markers all over the state for things like National Lampoon's Animal House and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and The Goonies and all the famous Oregon films. And then randomly this one little independent film shot in Klamath Falls because it happened to be the #1 movie in America through this complete and total fluke. So next time you're going down Main Street here in town, look for a little like black post that recognizes Phoenix, Oregon was shot here. So we don't have a guest tonight. But I wanted to give everyone an opportunity. Bowen, I know you're in pre-production for a project. If you want to talk about that, Logan, if you're working on anything, give everyone a chance to kind of chime in with what they may be working on or anything they're excited about, and then I'm going to do kind of a recap of 2023. So you want to talk about that film you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I'm working with a director by the name of JT Seaton. He's a wonderful horror film director and also a big director in the LGBTQ space. He's had a filmography spanning all the way back to 2004, which is quite a really long, expansive period. And just in the process, I'm working with him on a short film that he decided to write specifically because he went to last year's Klamath Independent Film Festival, the film festival that we run, and he liked the film festival so much, and he enjoyed the setting so much and the people that he was able to talk to that he decided to write a short film set here, or at least in a small Southern Oregon town, but it's pretty much Klamath Falls, and that's where the bulk of shooting is going to take place. And he wanted to bring me on as a cast member, especially as a member of the local color and somebody that, can add that authenticity. So I'm working with myself and with another co-star who's also serving as producer, and I actually might be bringing myself on as an assistant producer as well. Between all of that, don't want to spoil too much, of course, but the film is going to be right in line with the same sort of like horror themes and undertones and presentation that JT likes to do with all of his other films. And it'll be my first like horror film to get into, which is exciting, and also one of the first roles that I'll be doing that I would consider very dramatic. So I'm excited to leap at that opportunity. Pre-production is going well so far, but we're planning on doing the majority shoot end of this January. So excited for it. In fact, we do have Kurt, I can talk with you about this later on as well, but we will be looking for like extras opportunities and some other like crew positions that we could potentially send out feelers for.
Great. I've had several people just in the last couple of days ask me if they could be extras and things. And what Bowen's talking about there with our film festival has been a common occurrence. Our film festival, I think, is very unique compared to the other film festivals that I've traveled to around the state. And multiple times over, we have had filmmakers come here because they had a production that they made in in our festival. They immediately fall in love with the town and the theater that we do it in, and decide, you know what, I'm going to come back here and make a film here because I didn't realize that this was here. Like 99% of Oregonians, I grew up in Eugene, thought I'd been everywhere, but never went south of Crater Lake or east of Bend. There's this whole pocket that's kind of forgotten, right? So we just had a feature film shoot here in October, and that was because that filmmaker has had a film in our festival for the last 4 years in a row, and just decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to make a movie in Klamath because I keep coming down here every single year, and I love Klamath. Early next year, we have one feature film that's slated to shoot, and they're mainly going to be shooting out in the woods at a fire tower, kind of in your neck of the woods, actually. And that is a filmmaker who is in LA. He's a USC film school graduate, but he grew up spending his summers at Lake of the Woods. And then he's been in our film festival and decided, you know what, I want to shoot something in Klamath. And then we have a major studio production that is lining up to come here. And that is by a screenwriter who's based in Eugene. He had his feature film directorial debut in our festival in 2021, won an award for it, went to all 3 days of our festival, had such an amazing time in 2021. He spent all of 2022 writing a screenplay about Klamath Falls based on those 3 days that he was in town. And that's the feature film that he immediately got a studio connected to it. And that's the feature. It would have already shot, except, hey, John, except that the strikes kind of threw a giant wrench in all of that. Hey, Anthony. Hello, sir.
Those are cool. Did you just get them from the market upstairs?
Thank you guys for making the extra trip down the stairs to find us eventually. Yeah. And I asked, we cannot turn off the music, so you're just gonna have to endure an extra holly jolly meeting tonight.
I can go up and see if we can get a sign for anyone else that.
I talked to the bartenders and they said that they were just gonna, if people look confused, they'll send them down here. So if people ask, or you can go up and get a picture with Santa Claus and then come back and talk about films. So
I don't want to bring up my feud with Santa. He owes me money.
So we were just doing general introductions. We were just getting going with that. So since you guys came in, pass the mic around. No thanks for me. But John, why don't you grab the mic there and introduce yourself?
I'm just John Scott's dad. Just trying to be a filmmaker. Kurt is dubious of such things, but eventually I want to make a cyberpunk film, but there will probably have to be a few projects in between that to get it up to speed. Just got a job at Eagle Ridge, just teaching a digital arts class.
Oh, fantastic.
So just was kind of expressed interest that we do something again, but they told me like on the last day of this last term, okay, you want to do it? I'm like, oh my gosh, 2 weeks, thanks. So I might be hitting up Kurt and everybody to help me out, because I know that the previous guy, he worked up at KCC.
Rick. Yeah, Rick Medina retired. They actually offered me Rick's job, but I had already started at KCC. So, but yeah, if you ever want me to come in and do like a guest lecture to fill time, I'm happy to do that.
But yeah, I'm hoping if I get kids, of course I have my side desire that I will get the kids that they might get. I'll show them, look, you can do it for film, you can do it for other things, graphic arts, advertising. There's all kinds of art these days, web design. But maybe if I could get them interested in a little film project, maybe something along my lines, that might help get them see the interest. But I really want them to kind of see where they can go. I felt that was a big failing in high schools, is they never kind of showed you where you could go with this. They never showed you the jobs. They never give you the carrot to get you excited. So I'm hoping if I can, I'll say like, here's ILM, here's digital domain, here's Blizzard, here's the jobs listings. These are what they want. I'm going to try to help you with some of those things. I can't do it all, but at least you can see what you need instead of wondering.
Right.
So anyway, trying to push the effort, get some more artists, because we need art when we do films.
Absolutely. Of course, all I'm hearing is I'm dreaming of a white Christmas as you're saying that, but yeah. And then if you can pass the mic over to Anthony. Sorry, I forgot our to bring another mic, so we've got to kind of share. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Anthony Lee Thornton. I'm currently a film production company owner here in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and I'm working on a film, Sky Rain. It's about a homeless girl who ends up creating a successful clothing line, apparel.
So Anthony's also been a student at KCC where I work as well in the digital media design program. And for those of you who are our regulars, you've met Logan before, of course, but this is Larry. Larry just recently moved to the area. He's a longtime actor down in Los Angeles who just relocated to Southern Oregon. So he's been in a number of TV shows and films that you might recognize from over the years.
Slower pace and build up traffic.
Well, and cheaper cost of living is the big one compared to Los Angeles. I never thought I would be a homeowner just because of LA in my life. And I have a 4-bedroom, 2-story house with a half-acre backyard in the nice part of town with a view, paying less than what I paid for a shoebox apartment in LA a decade ago. So
That's crazy, man.
location, right? Yeah. So cost of living definitely has an impact. Well, thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate it. We don't have a featured guest tonight. But I did want to do kind of a recap of 2023, all the cool things we had going on, look ahead what we're doing for 2024, and also kind of a new direction in terms of what we're doing. So first of all, I want to let people know we have a casting call right now. This is a low budget, you could say no budget film, but still it's something that's being shot here. Wes is, let me see if I can change it. Nope, it's going to change to Wayne for some reason. So Wes Cronin is a filmmaker who recently moved to the area, and this is his first project that he's doing here. And he's looking for anyone and everyone to help out with it as he's kind of getting his feet settled in and just kind of wants to do something for fun. So he's making a fantasy adventure, almost like Dungeons and Dragons style, very low budget film here on a local level. So looking for anyone who is a fan of Comic-Con dress up cosplay stuff to participate as extras and crew.
What am I missing?
Is he starting?
Very soon. So as soon as he can get everything assembled. So he is looking for people to reach out if they're interested in being a part of that. Absolutely. Yeah.
School will start to the second.
Right. And then, of course, working with kids, you need to get parental permission for it. But yeah, if anyone is interested, it's just wescronin@hotmail.com. Or
extras.
yep. Or you can contact me and I'll relay you to Wes. But
Post that on the site.
we usually send it out as an email blast, not necessarily post on the website. But you're on the mailing list now. So we exchanged emails a couple of times through KCC. So if anyone is interested, Wes Cronin, CRONIN @hotmail.com. Just email him and say that I'm interested in being an extra. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Let me move that a little bit. WESCRONIN @hotmail. He's looking for anyone and everyone who is interested to participate in this fun little film. I don't know if it's a feature or a short. I know he's looking for 2 female leads and then looking for a whole bunch of people who are willing to dress up for anyone and everyone. I think he can take, he'll take what he can get at this point, because it's a very just kind of fun project.
Extra, they would need their own costume with them.
Essentially, yeah.
And would it need to be like, are we talking larger or like actual fantasy?
That's a question for Wes. So if you want more info, there's the email address. Reach out to Wes. But anytime that we have films happening, no matter how big or how small, there's a need, we'll let people know about it. So right now, just fun little side project for the hell of it. If people want to be involved, wonderful. But I doubt there's any sort of pay beyond just maybe might provide some pizza or something for the day. We've all worked for pizza on set at some point. Yeah, I remember working on a film here where I did probably 4 or 5 hours of work in the middle of the night and drone work, and I got paid in fried chicken. So Yeah, it happens. It was cold at that point by the time I took it home. So anyway, that's happening right now, and as we have more cast and crew calls coming up, I'll be sure to announce them to everybody. We are also hiring our executive director, who was probably going to be here, but she's ill right now. Cassie Quistorf is stepping down. She took a job with Sky Lakes. And so she's in the same situation that I was when I stepped down a few years back, feeling like she can't dedicate the full time to this and do the full-time job as well at Sky Lakes. So wish her well. But we are actively searching for a new executive director. It is a part-time position, but the hours vary kind of depending on the time of year. It gets very busy around the film festival. This time of year, it's not so busy. But it is a nice kind of supplementary income for people who are interested. I wouldn't say it should be your primary income, but maybe eventually we'll get to that point. We're working on it. We're building every year, getting a little bit bigger. It's something. So typically, the nice thing is you get to basically put in time on your own schedule, and you're usually bringing home between 1,000 and 1,500 a month. So on the side, so it's not huge, but it depends. During film festival season, you're bringing home a whole lot more because you're working a whole lot more. But it's something when I was doing it, really, I could do my job and then step away at night, kind of work on this, on weekends, work on this, and just kind of you put in time just on your own for it. So we are actively looking for a director. For the time being, I'm stepping back in as interim executive director until we hire someone. We have a search committee, and we started posting that around. We're not in any major rush to hire, but when we find the right person for it, who it works for them, we will move forward with that. We will fully train whoever steps in. We have an executive computer already for that person. We have all the tools already in place. So whoever's doing it, they aren't starting from scratch. There's 12, 13 years already established. So a lot of it is copy paste in terms of what you're doing, but there will be things like grant writing, account management, event organization, putting on these meetings, film liaison work, a wide variety of stuff.
And also helping just with the general guidance on moving the organization forward.
Yep. And we are overseen by a 13-member board. So the director reports to the board. So in addition to that, we are also going to have some board positions open up at the start of the year. Our board functions as 13 seats on 3-year terms, except for 2 people are voted on by our membership as at-large 1-year terms. You don't have to be a Klamath resident to be a board member. We have some that have been in Portland and Ashland area previously. It's a once-a-month Zoom call meeting, and then additional as you can put in, especially around film festival time. Our board members help out a lot. And so if anyone's interested in that, we have an application for that. We will be doing our elections here very soon for those 2 1-year terms. Bowen is currently one of those 1-year terms, so he's only on the board through December 31st. And then we will have some other 3-year terms. Our rules are that someone can serve 3 years, then they have to take 1 year off, and then they can rejoin the board if they want to after that. Then we have a whole bunch of stuff that we did this year, and we've been growing like crazy. We've been doing a lot of grant writing and just kind of expanding as we go. So little recap for okay. So our first big event in 2023 actually happened here. That is the room where the bazaar is happening right now. But we have a tradition that we've done for a number of years where the night before the Academy Awards, we do screenings of all of the nominated short films. Because everyone sees the big feature film blockbuster. Everyone's seen Oppenheimer and Barbie that are going to be competing for all the Oscars this year. No one sees the short films. Maybe 1 or 2 of them get picked up by Amazon or Apple, but for the most part, this whole category kind of comes and goes without ever seeing any of these films. But there's really amazing short films and great animation every single year. And so we've done this sometimes at the Pelicans, sometimes we've done it at the Ragland. This year we did it here at the Growler Guys, and I think we'll probably do it here again just because we had such a good time. People could get food and a beer, sit down. We had about 3 hours of film. We had an Oscars trivia competition where we gave away mini Academy Awards and just had a really, really fun time with that. Bowen, you were there. You're in the photo on the right there helping out. Very fun time. So this year, the Academy Awards are March 10th. So we will do that March 9th, most likely again here. As we finalize the details, we'll announce that. But I think it was like maybe $10 to get in. It was about 4 hours of films plus trivia contest and food and drinks and all that. So very, very fun time. So, and it was cool that, we give people a chance to kind of vote on their favorites and then see who's actually going to win the next night and all that. Yeah, yeah. We were close. Last year we our crowd collectively voted on the winning live action, and I think they also picked the correct animated film too. So it was pretty stiff competition. Every year it really varies too. Like obviously we have no say in what films are being nominated. And we've had kind of a tradition with it. This year the films weren't so bad. In past years, you come out of it feeling like you just went through an emotional boxing match with Mike Tyson. Just like every film is body blow, uppercut, body blow, just like one hit after another. I feel like you've been bludgeoned. So I was very happy 2 years ago we did it, and at least they ended with a funny film, so we could walk out feeling somewhat good about ourselves. No, that like deep hardcore drama films and like very depressing, like yeah, like I remember one from a couple of years ago, a true story of like basically a young girl's like prison or school where they all like burned alive in a fire. And it's just like some of these films get harsh. I mean, they're amazing films, right? Because they're being obviously nothing gets nominated for an award without being terrific. But I like to always preface our evening saying that we're going to go on an emotional journey tonight, and I offer something that no other theater will ever provide, and that is seat side tissue delivery. So I always come with a box of tissues, and all you have to do is during the event raise your hand, and I will come by with some Kleenex for you, because we're going to go on an emotional journey. But it's a lot of fun, and it's great to have a big room full of people, having dinner and a beer as well. So that's going to be Saturday, March 9th in 2024. But so that was, oh, hey, we lost our Christmas music. Maybe thankfully they finally turned it off. Sorry, Wayne. I know you've been humming along and enjoying it, but and then this was our second year that we have done for Earth Day environmental films compilation. So we did a series of short films. This was at the Oregon Tech Auditorium, where we did a series of environmental based films, and we're planning to do that again this year. This year with Earth Day falling on a Monday, it'll be Saturday, April 20th. So 420. We will be doing, yeah. we will be doing an environmental thing. Yeah, I was wondering who was going to pick up on the fact that it's 420. So we did a whole Earth Day thing with a bunch of giveaways. And then every summer we teach a film camp that is completely grant funded. It is free for the kids, and it's for middle school and high school kids. A 5-day film camp. This year we did it at KCC where I work. And so we taught them basic camera operations, script writing, storyboarding, acting, editing, and these kids shot their own films on campus, and then we loaned out gear for them to go shoot their own films. Everyone who made a film had their film shown at our film festival, and we also had a cash prize for one film. So this is some of their storyboarding and script writing that they were doing. And there's me teaching them about some of the early cameras. I always like to preface it with a little bit of history to show how far film has come in such a short time frame. And some of the kids editing their very first film, which is wonderful to see kids who have grown up staring at TikTok and iPads, realizing that they can actually use it as their own creative outlet, not just as something to occupy their time. And we switched over to Led Zeppelin instead of Christmas music. Hopefully you approve that, Wayne. I assume you do. So, and so our film camp will be most likely either late June or early July, open to middle school and high school. So, John, if some of your kids want to join in, they can. It's kind of a first come, first serve sign up, and we'll announce when the signups are happening. And then we loan out gear to them and give them an opportunity with the tools that we've given them to go off and make their own films. And it always amazes me because we're dealing with a lot of teenagers that they've had the cell phone in their pocket for years. Maybe they've made stupid little videos with their buddies, but when they're shown how to make a film, every year there's always at least one where it's like, you're 14. How the hell did you make such a good film? Because it took me years to be halfway decent at editing and understand what's going on. I spent 5 days with you and you made this. It's kind of unfair. So with that in mind, I did want to show our winner from this year. So it's about a 3.5 minute long film made by Hazel Heaton, who is a middle school student. She and her brother, Lennon, have been in our film camp for the last 2 years. So this wasn't their first film, but this was the first year that they won.
What's the age range for that?
It's middle school and high school. Well, yeah, but not Led Zeppelin. Okay, it doesn't look like we're getting sound through that, so I'm going to pull it up on YouTube. Okay, so let me bounce ahead here. And Wayne, I put the link to Hazel's film in the chat. Let me pull up. I thought this might happen where hopefully this works. So minimize this. And here we go. Here's Hazel's film. And no, we still don't have sound. Okay. This may not work.
You're trying to get sound out of the TV or something.
Let's see here. Sound output. Oh, here's why. Oh, okay. I think I got it.
You might have to over the sleep off the sleep trailer. I don't know, man. Oh, bummer, man. Well, keep it sweaty. Honey, what happened? Aerosol, man.
Okay, so
No, parasomnia is an issue wherein you feel like you're awake, but you're actually still asleep. And essentially, it's kind of like mega sleepwalking. It feels like you are actively up and you're getting ready or like that, or at least for an extended period of time. But and you're moving and you're still walking around interacting with your world, but you're not actually just
right. So essentially that it's sleepwalking. So she was dreaming about the lighted areas, the brightly lit times were her dream, but in reality, she's sleepwalking and like putting a garbage bag on outside and brushing her teeth with a tree and all that. What we really loved about her film, and we had a number of films made by students, but we really loved her use of lighting with the bright and dark to represent the reality versus what she's dreaming about back and forth. And like I said, this was collectively, this was the third film that this brother and sister tandem had made in our camp, and we really enjoyed the writing of that, and it was a family operation of it, and all their brothers and sisters and parents worked on it, and obviously no budget, but for what it is, being a student film, we thought that film had a lot of heart and character. So what did everyone else think of Hazel's film? Mm-hmm.
Because they would use a certain cast of green
Right.
when he was in. Of course, unless you really know what's happening, you don't necessarily catch it the first time around. You might catch it the second time around, but they would have those things to kind of let you know a little bit, but it's subtle. So
yeah. So anyway, they came in, they joined us at our first film camp with zero filmmaking experience whatsoever. They came back last year and made a very fun film. That was kind of a horror film. And then this year they decided to make that. And we thought it was our best film of all the ones that were made this year. But every year I'm always impressed by what kids, after just 5 days of general instruction and a little hands-on experience, what they're able to go off and create. So it's amazing, the technology today. It's no longer cost prohibitive like it was in our day of like you could only be a filmmaker if you had the gear. Now these are better filmmaking tools than what the $50,000 camera is being used in Hollywood 10, 15 years ago. So we did that film camp, and then along came our film festival. This was the 11th year of the Klamath Independent Film Festival. We had more films this year than we've had in any other year, and our festival exclusively takes Made in Oregon films. And normally we'll get between 80 to maybe 120 submissions from around the state. And this year was on par with that. But in our judging process, we have a multi-tiered judging process. And typically, by the time we're getting down to the selection process, we maybe have about 50 films left, and we're trimming it down to about 30 to 35. This year, after the trimming, we were still sitting on about 70 films that we wanted to show. We've never seen such quality of film production across the state of Oregon as this year. We were trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Why did Oregon suddenly step up its game across the board? And we're getting all this like great animation and stuff that's like very time consuming. And we realized, oh yeah, all these filmmakers had 2 years stuck at home to do that pet project they've been thinking about doing, but never had time for. Now they finally did it, and we're getting everyone's like multi-year projects in hand all of a sudden. So we cheated this year. In addition to the films we showed over 3 days, we also included an exclusive online category. And I don't know if we'll ever do that again, but circumstances were that we didn't have the heart to cut some films that were just too good to cut. And so once again, we had filmmakers from all over the state come to Klamath Falls in mid-September for 3 days. The photo on the far right there was one of our most interesting films. We had two 18-year-old kids still in high school make a feature film, shot actually at my old high school in Eugene, South Eugene High School, called The Boy Who Never Tangoed. So that's the two directors and the lead actor on the far right there. And all of these professional filmmakers who were there said that was their favorite film. Like they were so impressed by these 18-year-old kids because the film was jam-packed full of all of these nods to an entire history of cinema. There was spaghetti Western, there was French Nouveau, there was film noir, there was Wes Anderson thrown in, there was a little bit of Matrix thrown in as these little like random tributes in a very avant-garde, very risky film. And I was sitting there like, you're 18. How the hell do you know like old black and white cinema? How do you know, classic, spaghetti Western that you're throwing in? And some people who were there were like, I didn't even recognize half the references until I was interviewing them, bringing them up. And they're like, oh yeah, that was in there, So very impressed with those kids. They ended up taking third place for best feature film. And one of the things that we do every year, Larry, this will be news to you. Again, I don't know any other film festival that does this, but every festival will have their own little awards, little plaques, little statues. Sometimes they have something unique. If it's like a horror festival, they might have like some kind of horror figure. But it's usually the same thing with the plaques changed. Here, because we are essentially the Made in Oregon Film Festival, we thought, how can we brand ourselves with that? Well, what's more Oregon than wood products, right? And then we connected with an amazing local arts group called the Southern Cascade Woodcrafters Guild, and they agreed to make our trophies. They've been doing it since 2020, but on one condition, and that is that they make the trophies based on the films, not making the same thing over and over again. So if you say make a zombie film that wins, you're going to get like a carved zombie. And we leave it up to them in terms of what theme or character arc or some aspect that ties the award to the film. So the filmmakers are not only getting a cash prize. Yeah. So we show them the film. The director, board chair, and Southern Cascade Woodcrafters are the only ones who know who the award winners are up until the actual event. And so we know who the award winners are usually about a month in advance. So they go off into their wood shops, and we usually don't see what they make until maybe 2 or 3, maybe a week before the festival, because I have to photograph and film everything and then ship them off if that filmmaker is going to attend. And it never fails. Every year I get this giant box of just the most amazing stuff that is so cool and so precious to these filmmakers, because it's not just a cool statue and hey, I won something, but it's like, but that's the character from my film, or that's the theme from my film. And so one of our biggest draws to our festival has become this award thing that we do at the very end of the festival. So here are our awards this year. This, and they made multiple awards this year for most of our films. Just off camera here is 2 coffee cups, which was for a film called Will and Tess, which won our Best Southern Shorts Award. These 2 right here were for a feature film called Space, Hope, and Charity, about a woman whose family tragically drowned on the Oregon coast, and then she enrolled in a master's program for astronomy and now works for NASA. So a documentary about this woman who overcame all these hardships. So this one is a constellation on a wood board, and behind it is a whole observatory on the Oregon coast with footsteps leading into the water. This one was for a film called Mugshots in the Digital Age, a short documentary which won our Best Southern, our Best Southern student film about how when mugshots go online, they exist forever, whether you're guilty or innocent, or whether you're cleared of your crimes, if you're arrested, and the effect that has on people of having, if you've been arrested, regardless of the situation, whether you're guilty or innocent, the fact that that exists online forever and the kind of impact that can have on your life. And so they made one that had a bunch of cartoon characters as mugshots. So here's like Mickey Mouse holding up like a nameplate, and there's other characters there. And then this one was silhouettes of mugshots. This one won our best northern short. It was an animated stop motion film about a father and son in a grungy old bathroom. That I could ask Zach to see exactly. I know we talked about it, but I don't remember offhand exactly what it was. But a really beautiful, amazing animation. And so they made like a whole bathroom set for it. And the little thing down here was a tooth that got wrapped in dental floss and started like growing on its own. So then they also made one that was the actual tooth wrapped in dental floss. This one was for a film called Sam Now, and it was a documentary about two brothers that were dealing with abandonment issues. Their mom just suddenly left the family and started a whole new life, a whole new family, and the younger brother kind of adopted this whole superhero persona, and so they had a scene of them in a rowboat out in the water, so they made that. They also made these two marionettes with the big one being the mom, the smaller one has scissors cutting loose the superhero character. And then over here, there was another film about friends buying an old car, and then, had scenes of them being on the bus going to school. So there were some of those. But every year we get the most amazing, and the filmmakers, like, I hear every year from the filmmakers, like, my film went to several different festivals. I won a few awards. The plaques are going in the closet, but that's going on, that's going on the mantle, or that's going on the coffee table, and everyone's going to ask about that. So the film festival went great. This is Shane Anderson, who made an amazing feature film called Covenant of the Salmon People that took second place this year. And here's one of our Q&As that we did. But 3 days of fantastic fun at the Ragland. This year, it's going to be September 13th through the 15th at the Ross Ragland Theater. I'm going to confirm those dates with Curtis tomorrow, but those are the dates we're targeting. Oktoberfest here is going to be September 21st. So we didn't want to interfere with that same weekend. So the 13th through the 15th, that means our opening night is going to be Friday the 13th. So we'll be able to do something fun with that, because normally our festival works where we show just one feature film our opening night that is an iconic made in Oregon film to kind of celebrate it. So 2 years ago, we did National Lampoon's Animal House, and we had people dress up in togas, and we had a dance-off on stage during the famous fraternity party scene. We had Otis Day in-house to judge Best Toga, gave out a prize. We auctioned off the last surviving piece of the actual Delta house before it was torn down. The location scout who worked on that film, it was shot in Eugene, is from Klamath. And so we brought her back to town. It's the first time she'd been here in decades. And she brought with her this actual piece of the animal house and did a whole cast reunion. It was wonderful. Growing up in Eugene, that film's a kind of a piece of me. So that was a huge bucket list item for me. And then in October, amongst our productions, we had a feature film shoot here called Backseat Driver. That's Anthony right there working as a PA off on the right. So they came down for several days in October, and we helped them out with extras, equipment, Anthony working as a PA on it. And then they shot the remainder of the film up in Portland, but it's going to be a film coming out this spring based in Klamath Falls. And a very fun production because we saved them big time. It was a team from Portland that came down. The guy dressed in all black is Roland Stafford. He was the director, and he's had a film in our festival for the last 4 or 5 years, and decided, screw it, I'm going to make a film in Klamath because I come down here every single year. I love this festival so much. Yep. And so they get down here, and the first morning they're set to start filming. The DP, who's the one who's kind of crouching down there, he had only brought one camera and one monitoring system for the production, and he has some huge static shock that fries the motherboard on both. As soon as he turned everything on, the camera and the monitoring system both completely fried themselves, and they're 300 miles from home, so you can't just send a runner to go pick up the backup camera. So Roland called me and said, "Help, Kurt! we need assistance." And we stored all of our equipment at the Ross Raglan, and I happened to be at the Ross Raglan at the time for a separate event. So I said, give me 5 minutes and I'll have a cinema camera ready for you. Send someone over to the theater. So they showed up, and I had a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K for him right there, along with extra lenses and a monitoring system and everything good to go. And they shot 3 days in Klamath without any other major incidences. And ooh, they were so thankful for us. They were so happy to not only have made the film where they wanted to, but the fact that they actually had a camera to shoot with during the entire production. Anthony, you can talk about the production more since you were on set for all 3 days. If you want to grab a mic and kind of give your own little recap of it.
Well, I would like to say that a director of photography was amazing by being able to take your black magic and watching him retrofit his whole setup within like 30 minutes was pretty amazing. For this film, I think they actually chose really good locations to showcase Klamath Falls. They both did a lot of indoor things and outdoor. And the grave site was probably the most unique site. You can actually see like most of Klamath Falls from up there, and it's all historic. Yeah, so that was like a real nice backdrop on that. And then they also went out to the park here called Veterans,
Yep.
I believe, and got some real nice shots right before the leaves fell. So they made it look like it was like springtime, I guess. So that was nice.
So this is Back 40s Cafe over on South 6th Street. And then we also shot on the OC&E trailhead where the caboose is, just kind of over by South 6th Street there, which was also kind of funny. We saved them twice because they realized that they were short on some batteries and some other gear, and the sun was going down. You can see how long the shadows are. And they called me and said, "Kurt, help again." And I showed up just in time to drop stuff off where they had one chance to get the shot before the sunset. So they got one take, but they got it in, and like 5 seconds later, sunset, and they're like, "We're wrapped for the day." I'm sure you remember that as well, kind of the panic.
Yeah. And as you see in this picture, one of the best things for me being on set was education purposes, learning both the director of photography, audio, video, and or audio and the lighting. Those two technicians basically make the whole show happen, the lighting guy and the sound guy. And the importance of them to the director of photography I had never witnessed before. So that was nice to see how well a team can work together and create the art.
So Anthony, being a film student and has started his own production company, he's been trying to learn and absorb as much as possible. But this was your first real opportunity to be on a pro set and see people who have been there, done that, and learn. And they really welcomed you from the get-go and let you be just a part of everything from start to finish. And they answered any question you may have had and let you do a whole bunch of things that normally they wouldn't have let any old person do.
Like
so
like 4 years of college in 2 or 3 days.
I'm totally not.
It was a blessing, honestly, and I wish more people could have been on set because one thing it did for me is I had the original mindset, as we probably all do with our ideas, is it's like, oh, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to write and shoot it. I'm going to do the lighting and the sound and all this. But then once you see an actual team work together, you see how well it suits each other to where the director of photography, you can't take a good shot without his lighting guy on his back, and you have to the sound guy is literally the most important guy.
Yep.
Because like if you don't get the audio, you just lost the whole movie.
Yep. And you got to have beefy arms and shoulders because you're doing this for like 7 hours during the day.
So I would also like to say this about being blessed with this opportunity was it opened my eyes to film. I was told to re-choose a career due to a disability I experienced in a car crash. And I was like, oh, film production, you just pick up a camera and you just go out there and it's nothing. Well, after like 12 hours with these guys for 3 days in a row, you feel like you got hit by a semi. So, it's a lot of labor that a lot of people don't respect when they're like watching a film. They think it just happens.
Yeah.
And it's no hard labor, but it's manually intensive.
This production was really indicative, though, of our community and the general enthusiasm for film production here. We haven't had enough productions like, Larry, you and I being in LA for so long. Film production was just another annoyance. Like, crap, I have to move my car again, or else they're going to tow me. And they're detouring the street again, because there's always a production happening in and around LA all the time. And it's just an annoyance. People get frustrated by it. Here, there's this genuine enthusiasm for it. And the property owners, the community members, we had people show up as extras who worked 12 hours as an extra and got paid in pizza, and they had a blast. They loved it. They want to do it some more. So there's just a great enthusiasm for this. I remember a couple of years ago, I was location scouting and I was walking around some of the really old houses downtown that are kind of up on the hill there that have really unique architecture. I was just knocking on people's door with my camera in the hand saying, "Hi, can I come take a photo of your bathroom, bedroom, and basement?" It's looking at me weird. I was like, "It's for a film." And they're like, "Oh, if it's for a film, come on in." And, and then I'd end up spending, half an hour in the house just talking to these people and be like, if they want to knock down a wall and, we'll move into a hotel for 3 weeks and they can do it. And still some of these people years later still reach out like, "Hey, if that film's ever still coming, we'll totally move out. We just want to have them shoot here." There's this love of the idea of a film being made here that still exists. And I hope we don't lose that, because this Portland film crew told me right before they left, and they said afterwards too, they've never had an experience shooting outside of Portland where they felt so welcomed as in Klamath, where the entire community pitched in. Everyone was willing to help out. People were willing to do whatever was asked of it. People gave of their property as needed. People volunteered their time. They opened up spaces for them specifically. Larry, that doesn't happen unless they're getting paid. That doesn't happen.
Blessing to witness. That was like a fear barrier that I had in my personal productions, was how do you make all this happen? How do you make all these wheels get to turning? And seeing that the community is that willing, it takes down that barrier in front of you and lets you know that there will be a team, you build and they will come.
Yeah. So we talked with the city and county for locations. We talked to property owners as well, but in this instance that we didn't have to do any permits. We just had to, the one location we had to work with, here's at the cemetery. We did have to work with the cemetery and the city to get a porta potty on site, which came in handy. And then we provided a canopy tent, and the Daily Bagel provided catering. So we had a bunch of extras for this shot, which was a bunch of students from Klamath Union, as well as a few community members and coworkers that showed up at 7 a.m. and worked until 6 o'clock at night, got paid in just pizza, and loved every second of it. We're eager, enthusiastic, asked questions, but at the same time didn't get in the way and did exactly what they were told. And yeah, Larry, feel free to chime in on that.
There is an aspect where they didn't know the whole plot of
yeah, no, they had no idea what it was. I just told them, show up at the cemetery at 7 a.m. and dress accordingly like this. And you're going to be, an extra in a feature film. And so I took it upon myself during the entire day to try to keep the extras entertained. So while all those long breaks that happened between takes, I was explaining, okay, here's what this person's job is, here's what that does, here, and kind of running through it. And I remember some of the crew members came up and said, that guy must be a teacher, because he knows more than we do in terms of what we're doing on set. But no, it was just a wonderful day. All the extras were great. And then afterwards, the extras were like, hey, if this ever comes up again, we want to do it again. So Larry, you want to chime in on that?
I was just going to bring up something about the cost of shooting in LA.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine lived in Marina Del Rey, right on the ocean front, and they shot Jerry Maguire on his property. So they use it as office and then as his apartment. So it was a pretty nice place. It paid off his mortgage. That's $350,000. Paid off his mortgage.
Oh wow!
So that's $350,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of money that goes into film productions, which is great, because as we get more film productions that come here to Klamath, and the bigger budget film that's coming, most of that money ends up getting spent in the community where they shoot. It goes towards property owners, to catering, to lodging, to locals being hired on, security, trucking, hiring on local people to help out with, building set design and all these ancillary jobs. It's not just a cultural thing where end of the day we get this really cool film to say like, hey, this was made here, and hey, I recognize where that is. But it also can be a huge boom to the local economy as well. So yeah, a lot of money can come in.
Still,
They had we told them a little bit. Basically, the film's called Backseat Driver. It's going to come out this upcoming spring, and it's essentially about two people who both have imaginary friends, and the imaginary friends first hate each other, and then they fall in love with each other. And so it kind of follows both the real people and the imaginary friends as they're squabbling, and then all and all that. So yeah,
There was one thing that I learned on that set that I would like to carry, well, many things, but this one specifically to carry forth in my productions going forward. And it based on you remember Fast and the Furious, how they took all the actors and put them together in Vegas to hang out for the first week before they got to know each other. Roland and them put everybody in an Airbnb together, and I thought that was the coolest thing because after set you went back, and then everybody's brains are getting, I'm going around questioning everybody, but
yeah.
They're just able to hang out, get to know each other. That makes them very familiar the next day, so it creates like this bond where they're. I guess it seemed more comfortable on camera, honestly, is what I saw.
Yeah.
And the team was more fluid. Yeah, quickly. Yeah.
quickly, and you do it.
A lot of bigger sets, everyone has their own trailer, and so you're on set, and then people get called in, and then they spend the rest of the time at their trailer when they're not in a scene. But that is one very cool thing, is since we don't necessarily have a space like that, we compensate by doing Airbnbs or renting out a house or something, and so the cast and crew kind of all stay together over the course of the production and really get to know each other well. And we found that people, when we are able to get locals involved in a production, like when Anthony worked as a PA on this, they're welcomed in on it because we're getting outside of the traditional setup. So people kind of let their guard down and just kind of feel sort of the community vibe. So our productions here, at least so far, knock on wood, have been nothing but stellar. And everyone's gone back and said, what a wonderful experience it was in Klamath. The community was great. The people that worked on the film were wonderful. And it was just so much fun being in Klamath during this production.
And that's another thing. Them guys were having a good time the entire time, goofing off, and because they all three knew each other. The lighting, sound, and cinematographer or director of photography. They were all buddies, and you could tell with Roland and everything, and shit talking the whole time, having a good time.
And the other place where we shot as a group this is at Linkville Playhouse. And that's Natalie from the Ross Ragland, and Brooke is a student at Oregon Tech, and they did a whole Shakespeare scene with one day to try to memorize like an entire thing of Shakespeare, which I felt so bad for both of them. Like, it's okay if you're not off book yet. We gave you one day warning to learn like this whole monologue of like very intense Shakespeare. And essentially, we shot this with a bunch of extras where the cameras are actually in the crowd, and they're the imaginary friends and the real folks are like arguing with each other in the crowd while a play is happening on stage. And so you'll see like my right elbow will be prominently featured in this scene of the film, sitting next to one of the actors. So we shot in the morning at the cemetery and then all afternoon at Linkville Playhouse. We had a wonderful time with them. And then the last day they shot at Veterans Memorial Park before they left for Portland.
To text you this picture. I'm probably the only one that has it because they were all busy, but I got a picture of Roland with the sword trying to fight.
Oh yeah.
I got to text that to you.
So anyway, that's Brian Sutherland on the right, who's also a friend of Klamath Film. He's been in a bunch of TV shows and films over the years based in Portland. And then Megan on the left. All three of them worked on a feature film that we showed at the 2020 Film Festival called One Dead Dog, that is still kind of a sentimental favorite of all of our board members and folks that were participated. I believe that film is on Amazon Prime now, but it's a film about two brothers that go to the family cabin in Central Oregon, just to bury the ashes of their dead dog and kind of, you know, have some nostalgia memories. But the brothers happen to be serial killers. And Megan there is a squatter that is at the cabin, and she also happens to be a serial killer. And all three of them kind of bond and become buddies over their death count. It's a very silly film. It also has Mark Patton, who is the star of Nightmare on Elm Street 2, is in the film. And Daniel Timothy Tracy's in it, who's also been in a couple other films. So a very fun crew. It's great to get them to come back to Klamath after we were their theatrical world premiere for One Dead Dog at the film festival. So it was great to get the crew back and have them shoot something in Klamath. So that kind of recaps our 2023. Going forward in 20. Oh, and then also Wayne wanted to chime in on in the chat because Wayne and Bowen were part of a short film that was shot here as well a couple of years ago that we world premiered at our film festival this year. And it's another example of the community stepping out, because that film required a huge contingent of police and fire to be a part of it. And the police are just like, yeah, sure, whatever you need. And you need ambulances, you need 20 police cars to show up on set. We'll do it for you, no problem. And it was just like, just to be a part of. Bowen, you want to kind of chime in on that experience?
So I'll also do my best to speak for both Wayne and I at the same time here. But the project was called Duplicity, and it was a short film.
There's a murder mystery, kind of like Clue.
Yeah, so it was almost like a whodunit. Didn't take itself too seriously, so it was pretty lighthearted, but also had some fun moments in it. There was a big collaboration that especially surprised me at the time of just how many groups we were able to involve, because we were able to get city and county police involved of fire. We were able to borrow squad cars, shoot scenes like in the the police headquarters and do all of that. We also got to use some of their interrogation room for a scene, which was very fun. And just throughout that whole process, it was very nice to work with him, and just a great demonstration of just the sheer degree of how much collaboration can be found in the community, which is, it's very nice and very refreshing. And just throughout that whole process, it was at the time the largest film that I had ever done. Of just with the biggest project at that time of, again, still butting up. For Wayne, it was probably just another Tuesday, but with that whole process, with the project, it was super engaging. I still love all of my cast members, because that was a lot of fun. The dynamics that we had over the course of the film was really nice. Although we were all supposed to on camera hate each other, that created a lot of really interesting moments of like the scene ends and then we just end up all like laughing, or there's just funny moments or things that we catch, because it's just like, man, we're just being such dicks to each other. But then once it's done and then the cameras aren't rolling, that it's like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So that was Duplicity as well, but it's another good example of how this community, when there's a film production, everyone's like, oh, there's a film being made? Cool. What do you need? You need 20 squad cars? Okay. Police will show up.
And we got arrested a bunch of times. That was another fun part too, because there's a scene where we are escorted in handcuffs out of a house and into squad cars. And we actually had like a crowd of extras on the side of the street to look like bystanders. But as we kept doing the scene a couple of times, I noticed off in the distance of actual bystanders like looking on.
Right.
It was like, oh, was there a massive bump that just
right.
And just the main cast, there's a bunch of different characters that all look kind of different. So it's also would have been a bit of a circus of seeing just like, who are all of these people and why are they being arrested?
Right.
Wait, the cops are letting them go again? And just like, oh, it's a film. But yes.
No. It's very much so like the movie Clue. It's very much so kind of the whodunit, kind of fun murder mystery vibe to it. So as I said before, Saturday, March 9th is going to be our Oscar shorts. And Earth Day this year, we'll do screenings of environmental films on April 20th. And then our film camp, we're looking at probably early to mid-July. Anyone who wants to help out with that, we would love to have volunteers with it. And the film festival will be September 13th through the 15th. Beyond that, we may or may not, kind of as things play out, have some additional one-off film screenings throughout the course of the year. We've done some of those in the past. Bowen got to work on a feature-length documentary about filmmaker James Ivory, who is an Academy Award winner, considered the most successful independent filmmaker of all time, and grew up here in Klamath Falls. And so they shot that this year or last year, and it's supposed to come out early next year, right?
Last year, and it's supposed to. I've been told a couple of different release times. I know that it's probably slated to release at latest late this next year.
Okay.
And I know that they're still in a. I heard that they're just in some sort of purgatory of production. I don't know what they're planning next, but
so we've had James. James lives in New York. He's now in his mid-90s, but he still owns a cabin at Lake of the Woods, and so he comes out here at least once a year for about a week or two to write at his cabin. And normally when he comes out, he's gracious enough with his time where we do a screening of one of his mini films and usually a Q&A with him afterwards. And that usually gets a huge crowd out because everyone knows and adores James Ivory here. So it's our only Academy Award winner from Klamath County. And so we may or may not maybe do a screening of that. We might end up being the world premiere for Backseat Driver that you worked on, Anthony. And we've done other one-off things. We did a special screening of Phoenix, Oregon, and then unveiled the historic marker when we did that. We've done things like Peter Jackson's They Shall Not Grow Old, which is an incredible documentary about World War I. We did they provided like a whole behind the scenes making of that was even more interesting than the actual film, and then did the film screening. So we may do some additional screenings throughout the course of the year. But essentially, that's Klamath Film. That's the plan going into this upcoming year. I don't know how long I'm going to be director. That's TBD. But for now, I'm in charge of things. So with that, I wanted to open this up. If anyone has any projects they're working on they want to talk about, or things I've heard about, or just have stories. Larry, I'm sure I've brought up probably 20 different stories you can think of from things you've worked on over the years. If you got any funny stories you want to share from on set, or... But as I was mentioning, right, as I was mentioning some of these things, I saw you start to light up, and I could tell the wheels were turning like, oh yeah, that happened on this set. And oh yeah, that was like that set. So I know you did most of your production work in and around Los Angeles, right? And also you said Sacramento too. Did you have any experiences with like just locals being brought in as extras and kind of that whole experience, or shooting in off location cities and communities? And
actually, when I lived in Sacramento, Phenomenon shot there.
Okay.
Up in Auburn.
Yeah. The John Travolta film, right?
Yes. And I ended up being Robert Duvall's double.
Oh, okay.
So that was fun. Yeah. Robert Duvall. And there's a scene in there where it's George's birthday, John Travolta's birthday, and they said, "Hey, the doc has a surprise for you up in his window." And then they...
Oh yeah, and the bare ass scene.
Yeah, that's me. It's funny too.
Right.
So that was my first good job ever, and so that got me going, got me excited about
Right.
it.
So if you don't recognize the face, you might recognize the ass. If Larry wants to drop trout in front of us.
They shot that there. All the extras were from Sacramento and Auburn in that region. And then shot another movie a few years later with Lucky Numbers with John Travolta. And I was actually a mailman in that one. Okay. And all the extras again were from Sacramento.
So in your experiences though, LA, both of us coming from the LA scene, there's a lot of, jaded vibes, and a lot of productions there, of course, are union. And so it's even just everyone is either an actor or a musician and has a headshot stuffed in their back pocket. They may be pumping gas or serving food, but really they're an actor. Or a screenwriter, and so even those extra spots, they're going through all kinds of auditions. It's different for a place like this where it's like, hey, you want to be in a movie? Sure, okay, come on in here, dress this way, be there at 7:30, and you'll be in the movie. And so it's a totally different vibe and experience for those extras. But
there's so many people in the business down there, and even the extras, you have to go through the process of getting accepted for a part as a background.
Yeah. So also kind of different vibe too, because those are professional actors trying to get in. Like it's really frowned upon for you to interact with the main cast or even make eye contact with some of the actors. Don't talk, just sit in the background and pretend like you're eating a meal. Don't draw attention to yourself. And you're last in line for catering and all of that. But here it's like the lead actors will be like, "Hey, how are you enjoying this? Thanks so much for being a part of the film. Do you have any questions?" What, just very open, very free flowing. I'm sure the film shot up around Sacramento, there was more of that experience, but in Los Angeles, you didn't experience that, right? Yeah. Anyone else have projects that they're working on or things that they want to share? I wanted to just kind of go around, and Wayne, feel free to drop this in the chat. Since it is the end of the year, think about what is your favorite thing that you saw this year? Movie, TV show, web video, something that maybe at our film festival, or, obviously it was the year of Barbie and Oppenheimer, and I'm sure someone's already working on the crossover Barbenheimer. But if there is something that really stood out to you, why? I watch way too many films and TV shows than what is healthy. Part of that is for work, and part of that is just for pleasure. But honestly, of all of the things that I saw this year, and there was a lot of great stuff on streaming services this year, and there still is right now. I didn't go to theaters all that much this year, but man, I spent a lot of time watching stuff at home. The single thing that stands out to me that I just genuinely loved every second of is the director that Bowen is working with now, JT Seaton. He had a short film in our film festival this year called The Haunted Baby Carriage from Hell. And this film was so much better than it had any right to be based on the title and the subject matter of being like every classic horror cliche of all the old slasher films, but putting a twist on it in that no one cares that this baby carriage is haunted and it's just an annoyance and everyone's just like, just get out of the house, leave us alone because we're trying to like have a party or something. And so you feel sorry for this haunted baby carriage right by the end of the film. I loved that twist on classic horror tropes and all the little subtle nods he threw in of classic 70s and 80s slasher movies. I'm sure it's probably available online somewhere. The haunted baby, even the poster of it was cool because he made it look like a classic early 80s VHS cassette box.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just say I saw a lot of things this year, and there's other things I'm sure will pop into my head, but that one film, and I said it at the festival too, so much better than it had any right to be at all. And it was just so much fun. And I highly recommend that short film if you want a good laugh and you love classic horror films.
Yeah, and I just would say is that to piggyback off of that is that I wasn't really like, I watched The Haunted Baby Carriage and it was just like, man, that was a great film. And talking with JT, and then I was suddenly brought onto this project. It was just like, oh, awesome. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I actually went up to Portland for some pre-production stuff of working with him and then my co-star, just for like some reads for just general like blocking, helping us like fleshing some more things out. And part of that, we're watching a lot of films for this in preparation for this film. But as part of it too, I had the chance of, he showed me like his whole filmography, from like his master's thesis film all the way up to, more modern projects. And it's just, man, he's a tremendous filmmaker. Yeah. And it's just like from all the way back, it's just, I don't want to say nervous, but it's just like, man, it's kind of a simultaneous art, like honor and just like, oh man, I gotta pull out all the stops for this just to make sure I can live up to that quality that like I have noticed throughout his time as a filmmaker has been so consistent.
So he is good friends with Roland Stafford, who made Backseat Driver in October. And Roland was the one who told him, you have to submit your film for Klamath Film, for Klamath Film Festival. He came down. A lot of our filmmakers sometimes may only come down one day for when their film is showing. He came down for all 3 days, watched every single film, loved it, hung out, had a blast, such a fun guy. And his film was amazing. And immediately afterwards, he did the same thing that Roland did, was like, I got to make a film in Klamath, or I got to tie in with Klamath somehow. So wonderful. JT is now a friend of Klamath Film, and I so look forward to his future films and the project that you're working on, because like I said, Haunted Baby Carriage from Hell was my first experience of seeing JT's work. It immediately made me want to go see more of JT's work because it was everything you want in a film that is poking fun at classic horror tropes. If you love classic horror for all the right reasons.
And I can say he can definitely play horror straight.
Right.
To
yeah.
great effect, as I noticed in some of the other short films that I watched with him. Tremendous. He can do both long form and short form.
Right.
Every single project was some new concept or some new twist on an idea that you wouldn't be expecting, and it was just, man, this is awesome.
You can tell that he loves that genre and is like playing on all of the. It's a loving tribute to all of it.
Skill set is also so vast as well because he has skill sets in cinematography, of course, editing, sound, basic sound mixing. He knows music, he knows photography. He can do so many things, which is just so impressive to watch all come together. So,
and Wayne chimed in the chat and said that Duplicity was actually his favorite project to work on this year and his favorite film this year. So there's that. Logan, do you have putting you on the spot, do you have a favorite thing you've seen this year?
So I just went through my Letterboxd. I don't know if anybody has Letterboxd, but I imagine that you would really like it because one of the things I love about Letterboxd is at the end of the year you get like a Spotify ranking.
Right. So you can recap all the things you watched.
Yeah, and so I haven't we haven't gotten that yet because we're not at the end of the year yet, but I just went through some of it and I think maybe it's lame, but I think probably Across the Spider-Verse is probably it's probably I mean it's just so much fun. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely
beautiful. Yeah.
And I think I'm watching The Curse right now, and I love that. Nathan Fielder and Benny Safdie and Emma Stone, and that was great. And then the other thing that's taken a lot of The Curse. And then the other thing that took up a lot of my time this year was BoJack Horseman. I've never seen that one, and it's
once you get sucked into it, you start binging.
Yeah, it's it started off being, it's a pretty funny series. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's pretty funny. I was like, oh, this sort of reminds me of Rick and Morty. I like Dan Harmon. It's
it's on HBO Max if you want to check it out. It's adult animation.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a series.
HBO.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. And oh my God, those characters are insane.
Yeah.
Continue to do insane things. And you like it you like it because it starts out as a comedy and then it ends up not being so funny and just bad. And no, I mean like good, but like all these characters they're terrible. Yeah.
So what I want to add on to Across the Spider-Verse. So at our Comic-Con, at the Klamath Comic-Con this July, one of our featured speakers was a filmmaker who also works for BattleQuest Comics. So he works on comic books and film. And we got on a whole diatribe about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, about how there's been a lot of films that have been made based on comic books, adapted to live action, both animation. That was the first film that looked like a comic book. And then quickly followed by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie that came out this year. Both films looked like a comic book in motion in real life, and films have tried to do that, but I don't think until this year any film was able to actually do that. And that film, the entire time I was watching, I was like, this looks and feels like I am reading a comic book that's playing out in front of me as a movie. I've never seen something like that before. I agree. It was an absolutely incredible film. I almost kind of forgot about the story just because I was every second of seeing that in the theater, I was so caught up in the visuals. Same thing when I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I kind of half forgot what was going on because I'm just like, it's a different art style. It was more like your watercolor paint approach as opposed to like comic, but still the look of it was so unique and so different. I was so impressed by both of those films. Yep. So, but Bowen,
yeah. And especially with like, I won't call them copycats, but I know that Into the Spider-Verse really opened the door and sort of made that statement to studios, all the larger like Hollywood entities of that, hey, you can explore animation as a medium of filmmaking much more than what you're currently doing. And that finally taking this to heart and seeing of course, bare minimum, I suppose the important part of it too is that the bean counters have noticed it as well.
Right.
Into the Spider.
It helped that there were huge, massive successes.
Humongous successes almost on pretty much on every front. But of course, now with Across the Spider-Verse, with other films like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and also the new Puss in Boots movie, The Last Wish, where finally, I think we're on the cusp of experiencing a bit of a renaissance or like a redefining or a re-exploration of animation, and we're reaching an age where audiences have, I would say, in my eyes, matured enough to the point that they can appreciate animated projects more and take them seriously than just, oh, it's just another kids movie, and can really have that coming into it with that knowledge. Just like, no, I can expect to have just as much an enjoyment of this project as an adult or at any age, rather than just as, you know, a child. And that there's so much more to it that you can just get from the medium of animation than from what most people may potentially have expected. And I'm really excited for that going forward.
Yeah, I love the animation that's coming. I've always been a massive fan of animation in all its various forms. I love stop motion. I don't have the patience to ever do it, but I love stop motion. I love hand drawn, and Pixar was both amazing and also killed that industry, because for a while it got to a point where everything had to be CG, and basically hand drawn outside of anime died. And now we're seeing kind of a return to that art form, as well as an increase in stop motion. It's helped that, you know, Leica Studios, that's based up in Portland, has done such incredible work in stop motion to keep that art form alive. Same with the popularity of the Wallace and Gromit films.
The underground scene, not as super well known, but I forget his name, but the movie Mad God, the stop motion horror animated film that he was produced. The guy who basically did all the stop motion for the Jurassic Park film, and a ton of other projects. He worked like 37 years on Mad God, and finally released it like 2022, 2021, something like that. So my hope for the future is that we just have people going crazy, throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks or not, because I want to see something I've never seen before.
Right. And it's hard to do that these days because, I mean, yes, technology is constantly advancing, but it is really difficult to do something totally unique and original just with the vast volume of film that's been done over 120 plus years. You know, and a lot of the filmmaking structure, the way films are put together, has not changed since the silent film era. You know, Chaplin and Lloyd and Keaton basically defined how a film gets structured. And really the only difference now, obviously sound came in eventually, but the difference now is just that it's done digitally rather than physically cutting film. But the idea of story structure was largely developed in the 1910s, and that hasn't changed so much. So there's moments when certain films have come along that are sea changes in the industry. Certainly you can look at like Snow White and Gone with the Wind in the 1930s. As color became more prominent. And then I look at a film like Stalag 17 as being really important because post-World War II, the whole baby boomer generation really wanted to move past and not talk about the war and not do anything and just kind of let's move on with our lives. That's where you get kind of that Rockwellian image of 1950s culture. Until Stalag 17 came out, Academy Award winner, and it suddenly made it okay to make war movies again. And then we got this whole influx of World War II films and looking at and that kind of revived that whole genre of war movies. Tons of them were made during the war as you know, propaganda to help sell war bonds and all that. But then there was this break where no one wanted to touch the topic at all until Stalag 17 came along, and then it kind of got oversaturated. 50s and 60s were all about westerns. And then Star Wars completely flipped the industry in 1977, put it completely on its head. Same thing with Jaws in 75, creating the idea of a summer blockbuster. And then Toy Story completely changed everything again. Suddenly everyone had to do CG, and basically hand animation died by the 90s. So
I hope the Spider-Verse has created and has blown up, created a big bang of a cineverse of different projects that will come in the next couple of years. Hopefully.
Yeah. John, do you have a favorite thing you've seen this year? Or Bowen did.
Sorry, I'll be very, very quick. I'll still come up with another answer. I will condense it because I know I can go on and on.
Barbenheimer?
Yeah. Well, no, I actually haven't seen Barbie nor Oppenheimer yet.
Oh, wow.
The three films that I have enjoyed the most that were biggest impact to me this year. I watched Ordinary People, 1985-6 for the first time this year. Beautiful film, amazing. It's now one of my favorites, and I really want to continue watching it just as a study of amazing dialogue and just how actors can like live and fit in a space, and just the director and cinematographers can just trust to like let scenes go on and on and on and watch these characters go up and down with each other. It's amazing. Next one is I watched Gremlins for the first time this year, just like a couple of weeks ago, the original, and that one was. I can see now why it's the cult classic that it is, and also I've never been so happy to see so much like kid-friendly grotesque violence happen.
It's the 80s.
Yeah, that was such a juxtaposition, and to me, since I grew up on such a different flavor of filmmaking, that was like a brand new thing to me. So it was just like, wow, I kind of want more of this, but it's like, for almost 40 years old now.
Right.
But the big project that I did also watch this year, it's a series that sort of hit me in a way similar to Into the Spider-Verse, is actually an anime series by Studio Trigger called Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now it is pretty popular. A lot of people know about it. Yeah. Yeah. For anyone who may or may not know, I am a huge fan of just sci-fi in general, but especially cyberpunk. It's like my favorite subgenre of sci-fi. Cyberpunk Edgerunners is an amazing sort of new age display of cyberpunk storytelling tropes. And with the dynamics of the characters, the absolutely jaw-dropping animation, and all of the connections and things that it does. It's one of the best series I've seen in cyberpunk, and it's a huge inspiration for me for a lot of different aspects of cyberpunk storytelling. If I'm ever able to get there as a filmmaker myself. And I haven't even, the series itself is based off of a video game that released a couple of years ago. I've never even played the video game. And I've had no direct vested interest in playing it, but that series is just so good. It makes me want to just see if I can experience the game, or at the very least the game when, enough updates come out to make it into a playable state, because there was some drama there. But across all of it, Edgerunners was just such a great modern take on it. And then Studio Trigger, they've done amazing projects. Their whole filmography is just from industry giants in the realm of Japanese animation or anime. So it was really fun to see.
So part of the reason why us Gen Xers are so traumatized is because of all of the films that got passed off as children's movies in the 80s that are just one traumatic thing after another, and then the movie ends. I've going back and revisiting some of the films, even some of the animation, it's so dark and twisted and sad and depressing from a minute 29 of it, and then happy ending to kind of make you feel somewhat okay as you walk out of the theater, and then you need therapy afterwards.
I didn't think I would get to witness
80s movies are so messed up. You didn't
think I would get to witness a little gremlin creature get melted into a bubbly mess.
Yes, yeah.
And just despite all that, I won't spoil anything else, but my favorite character in the movie is the mom, because she just went no hesitation on just going on a total killing spree of these gremlins, and it's just like, oh my gosh, hell yeah. But and it's great.
Yeah. The films that are rated G and PG, they need to be prefaced with saying they're 80s PG, because there will be full on death, nudity, sex in PG films in the 80s.
There were children. Yeah, there were children in the audience while I was watching, and I was just as I was watching these scenes, I was looking over and just oh my gosh, are these children actively gonna have nightmares now?
Yeah, we're those of us who grew up with that, we're kind of numb to it. So many children's films, the Bakshi animations and even the Disney films of the era, they're hardcore looking back at it. That would not fly as children's movies today. John, favorite thing you've seen this year?
Gosh, I haven't been able to watch as many things as I wanted to, but I always hit up, I keep switching around between the different services. I don't know. I have to admit, I really have enjoyed the Utopia series. The US version I really like. They also but they only did one season, and I guess it was based on the UK version, which has both seasons. But it's kind of an interesting ride down some things that kind of tie into what look like real life things happening. It's kind of with all COVID and everything happening, and you got here, and you got some virus being made. And anyways, I don't want to give it too much away, but it's an interest. I did it and of course it got John Cusack in the American version, so I was really happy to see that. And so I mean, if you want to trip down weirdness way and that might actually tie into real life, maybe. You know, they draw on a lot of tropes, you know, that hang around for that. But it was good. It was a good ride. Other than that, I mean, I would say I watch a lot of YouTube, especially the Y-Files. If you've ever watched any of those, have you heard of the
I have not, no.
So basically, you got a guy here. He used to be like a radio announcer or something like that. And they've kind of started up this channel where they kind of look, you know, they investigate all of, you know, all these things they hear about, whether it's UFO stuff or whatever conspiracy theory, area, you know, Area 51, S4, you name it. But they try to do a really good job of it. And the shtick that he's got is he's got a little sidekick with him. It's a goldfish in the bowl, and it's called hecklefish. And of course, he'll be going along saying stuff, and then that thing will pipe in and you know say, you know, you heckle him and whatnot. And it's kind of got, you know, it's the running gag. They got little plushy toys, everything. So I mean, to see his channel grow from, you know, like not much to like over 3 million has been really good. And he does a really good job. Everybody loves, you know, they're always like, you know, I learned more from you than I learned from, you know, just, but he tries to give the things that are really good. Like he'll do it like how everybody's saying it, like an internet urban legend that it might be. And then he'll sometimes go back and say, and then tell you the other side of the coin, you know, so that you get, so it's not one-sided, you know. So sometimes you get sucked in, and then he just spits you out, and he's like, sorry, you know. But he does a good job to really explain a lot of these things floating around out there. And of course, he gets fed the ideas from a lot of the people that, and so he'll investigate those things.
Okay.
So I recommend checking it out if you haven't seen any. You know, some are better than others, obviously, but you'll learn a lot too. I mean, it's not all dumb stuff. I mean, a lot of it is interesting stuff, especially like, you know, good old Project Looking Glass, and you know, and the other one was like, you know, like, you know, there's like no speed of light or anything else. It's just everything's electric. You know, that was a very interesting one. Anyways, no, I've been looking up a lot of cyberpunk stuff again. Of course, I found a really nice. I shared it with. I found this one YouTube video where they took an AI engine and they just used it to morph between it you know, of course they got a girl, but they're just like, you know, it's changing her all kind of dimensions, clothes, everything is changing. And I was just like, obviously that's AI driven, because sometimes you get, you know, morphs that are kind of like, okay, that's not quite right. You know, she doesn't really have 4 legs or. Is that like a scientific video? Yes. And, you know, you could probably, yeah, it's really worth watching, because I want to incorporate it in my movie, because I'm like this, I'm going to use this scene. And the way I'm going to use it is that, you know, because he's got a group of people, you know, like the Matrix, you got a group that's trying to do something, of hackers, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, maybe on a downturn, they will go out, you know, and like maybe this, and so like one of the girls will just like watch something like this, and then it'll go along, and she'll say, okay, then just go back, stop, print, and it'll just like print out her outfit, she'll wear it and go out right then. I'm thinking that's the future, you know, where you have something that can show you all the variations, and you find something that's you, that strikes you, and you can have it right now and go out on the town.
They did something like that in Spielberg's version of Ready Player One, where basically everyone could just put whatever skin they wanted on themselves for whatever kind of like different character.
Print your clothes right now. I mean, it's like future. It's like fashion, instant fashion. Why do we have to wait, you know, for delivery, everything, and without 3D printing and everything? I was just like, that's the future, really.
Right.
You know, when you want a new wardrobe, print it right now. You know, but use tools. So, anyways, I'm having a maybe you guys can show them just a little bit of it.
Yeah. So, Anthony, you want to chime in with the favorite thing that you saw this year? Yep.
For that in particular, is where you put in a prompt or a query for an AI engine. In that case, it's a visual engine. But instead of just changing it or anything like that, you just start the query, and then you just have the system run and run and run and run and create hundreds or thousands of actual different outputs. for that one singular scene. So it just iterates and iterates.
Yeah. Anthony, what's your favorite thing you saw this year?
I like to do three actually, and I'll start with my least favorite of the favorites. It was Barbie's in third place.
Okay.
Sorry to admit that to you
Now,
guys.
Bowen, you do need it. Barbie's an amazing film.
It is
I know it's like super campy intentionally so, but it actually has a genius social commentary to it too. Yeah,
I enjoyed the humor and all.
it's fantastic. And the soundtrack's great, and cameos are great.
Second favorite that I got stuck on, he actually got me into Marcel the snail with shoes.
Marcel the Shell with shoes on. Amazing animated film. Yeah.
To be honest, my actual true favorite was I actually was born in an all-black neighborhood in Florida, and I've experienced gang and all this stuff my whole life. So they made this documentary, and what I want to point out about it was how amazing of a job they did on the documentary and how artistic it can be. Because most of us create documentaries and they're so lame. It's just interview, and then it's over. But they did a lot of good art in this. It's called Supervillain, The Making of Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Mm-hmm.
What I find amazing about this young man is in the streets, if you snitch, you actually get beat the hell out of and get stitches, is what they say. But for this guy, for some reason, every time he snitches, he makes another million. So it's like very interesting to read his, watch his story. And what I'd like to point out for y'all to watch that is it's not about him being a gangster or anything, because he actually is not a gangster. He's a poser. But what is so beautiful about that was the setup of the documentary itself and the art that they included, mixing back between the art to make you laugh along with like picking on this and that. It was actually very humorous, and I laughed most of the time.
Okay, great. Well, check it out.
I had to check.
And see Barbie if you haven't, because it is fantastic. It's very, very funny, and it has this amazing commentary about the great dichotomy of trying to be a modern day woman, of all of the different issues that you have to deal with.
That's made by Showtime.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm going to go back and see.
Oh yeah, on Apple TV. I've been making my way through For All Mankind and the new Godzilla series that's on Apple as well. And those are both very good. Invasion, I hated the first season and I was like, why am I watching this? But now the second season got much, much better on Apple.
Resolutions is that I actually want to create a like film watch schedule for the year, wherein like I balance new upcoming releases that I want to watch, of course films and independent productions and things that I can watch from Klamath Film, series, YouTube videos, what have you. Find time in my day or like week that I can just go and watch things on a consistent, regular basis and hold myself.
You really have to, there's so many things that come out now. There's so many streaming services and whatnot, so many options. You really have to kind of multitask. You have to have a movie on while you're doing something else to kind of keep up with all of it.
And to do that, something I know I'm not going to catch up in any way, but I want to stick to it.
Well,
Yeah.
I got a question there for you. You know, we tend to have a whole collection of all these movies, and I'm like, but how many of you really want to watch again? Are willing to watch again?
A lot of them I watch multiple times over, which shows just how much time I spend in front of a screen.
Like if I want to watch some TV and if something comes on, I always get looked into it. One that I can think of is Spit Out.
Yeah, I watched it a bunch of times. It's great. For me, there's a certain select number of films where if I'm just like flipping through channels and it just happens to be on, it doesn't matter how far along it is in the film. It doesn't matter how many hundreds of times I've watched that film. I have to stop and watch it until it finishes. Idiocracy, Galaxy Quest. Every time those two movies are on, I have to watch from start to finish, or if it's halfway through, I could quote those films probably start to finish. To me, they're the two perfect movies that were ever made.
So I've been trying to break out of like those comfort zone, that comfort zone media, because I know it can be, I wouldn't call it a trap, but it's something that, of course, can create complacency in that, like, well, I wouldn't even want to call it complacency, but like we like to watch things.
Right. And you end up watching the same thing over and over. Yeah.
Wants to be exploratory, and I want to take that risk of maybe encountering something that I may not care much about initially, but as I dive in more to it, maybe it's something I'll like. I know that, for an example, another series that I need to get into for a couple of different reasons is I want to dive more into mecha. Mecha is a subgenre of basically it's a catch-all term for any stories that revolve around giant robots that are piloted by people or piloted by aliens or piloted by other people. But
think of Pacific Rim, but animated.
Yeah. A lot of a huge amount of it is anime and it has roots all the way back in the 80s of Gundam, and
Ultron and
even from things like Power Rangers.
Yep.
Yeah. So and depending on what direction you take with it, it can be a big exploration on like the exploration of the relationship and identity between man and machine, and like piloting, a great vehicle that is, the standing image of, mankind and all its greatness and blah, 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 blah. But I'm doing all of that just so I can help run a mech-based like RPG game for my friends.
Right.
Yeah. So I always thought it would be cool to make like go down to this desert, sit up and mech.
Yeah.
Well, and they have a giant one that's in Japan that's like on attached to the giant building that actually functions. Yeah, Gundam actually started in 1972 was when they started showing Gundam content. Yeah.
Sorry.
1972 is when Gundam first came out, but there's a whole series precluding that. There was things like Atomic Boy. See, a lot of the post-World War II Japanese productions, Godzilla and all this anime was really a commentary on the atomic bombs and threat of Cold War. And a lot of it, if you go into it with that mindset and you watch some of the classic Godzilla films, you totally get like they're commenting on the trauma of the atomic bombs being dropped to culminate World War II and the ongoing threat of that wiping existence off of Earth through the whole Cold War experience.
And the interesting thing is that before all this point, I actually had no direct interest in mecha.
See you, Wayne. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, bye, Wayne. But just diving into things this year that I may not initially gravitate towards, but still watch it anyways.
Yeah. Larry, we haven't heard your favorite thing that you saw this year.
Okay, so kind of what you guys were talking about when you're scrolling through and you see that movie.
You have to watch, yeah.
So I've seen this movie probably 20 or 30 times, whether it's in the beginning and Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day it's a classic.
Like
it's an absolute classic, yeah.
Have to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I guess
I mean, you gotta love Bill Murray regardless, and it's one of his best roles. So
Yeah, and then I like westerns, a lot of Eastwood.
Classic spaghetti western style. Yeah.
There's a new one on Paramount, Bass Reeves.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. It's about a black lawman, one of the first marshals, U.S. Marshals.
Okay.
It's a true story.
Oh, very, very cool. Great.
He's going through the life of this marshal.
Wonderful. Well, it is 8 o'clock. I want to say thank you to everyone who joined us. Sorry for the late notice on this meeting, the changed location and whatnot. I'll try to be better now that I'm taking over and announcing these well in advance and letting people know exactly where and when. Hopefully we get to see you again at more meetings and everyone else. And stay tuned for more info about our Oscars night and film camp and film festival. We'll start accepting submissions February 1st, and that will run through June 1st. So if you know people who have worked on films, we accept either films predominantly shot in Oregon or films made by Oregon resident filmmakers. So if you have people that you can recommend, February 1st, we'll open that window. Also, if people want to help out and volunteer with us, we need screeners, people to watch and rate every single film, which is an arduous task, but a fun one, of going through every single film and rating them on 1 to 10 scales, and we'll average out all those scores and whatnot. It's a lot of movie watching, so start early and go through. Don't wait until June comes around and then watch 100 films. Watch it from February ongoing and just, catch a couple every night before you go to bed. Yeah, anywhere between 80 to 120 films. Most of them being shorts, but there's a lot of features that come into.
It's not much in a year.
Yeah.
Start filming a small festival too.
Yeah. In comparison, Portland Film Festival, I was talking to the director of that festival in October, and he said they get several thousand submissions to trim it down. So we need people to help out with that process. It's fun. It's interesting. You get to play a part in the film festival. So with that, also, we are looking to hire a director. If folks are interested in that, talk to me and I'll give you more details about it. We're looking for new board members, and we'll announce more upcoming events and more of these meetings. Thank you everyone for coming out. So appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Okay. It's very